Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Amy Haynes and I am the Marketing Manager for Communication Products here at Macmillan Learning. I'm joined today by my colleague Heather Halter-Kimball, who is our Learning Solutions Specialist. Heather will be leading the product demo today. This is the final week in our April series of brief webinars where we've been highlighting some of our favorite digital resources for communication. Everything that you'll see today is available in LaunchPad, which is our online platform that delivers an ebook, homework, activities, and other learning resources. For this final week, instead of just focusing on one feature in LaunchPad, as we have been doing in previous webinars, we're using each session to highlight multiple resources and features in LaunchPad for just one course. And today's course is Interpersonal Communication. Heather will spend about 15 minutes demoing some key features, and then we'll open it up for questions. If you're brand new to Macmillan and you've never seen anything in LaunchPad, welcome. We're glad you're here. Or if you've used our books but haven't really ventured into the digital side of things, or if you've used LaunchPad but maybe haven't had time to explore all the features, we hope that you might learn something new. Our goal here is to keep these brief and useful and have something for everybody. So before I pass things over to Heather, I want to go over a couple housekeeping items for using the GoToWebinar platform. So this is your attendee control panel. You should see this floating around somewhere in the top right of your computer desktop. By default, you've been connected to the audio using your computer speaker system. So if you can hear us, you should be all set. But of course, if you prefer to join over the phone, just click this phone call button right here and a little window will pop up with the phone number that you can dial to call in. You may also notice that you are muted. This is an automatic setting to eliminate background noise, but we can easily unmute you when we get to the Q&A. Speaking of questions, here are a couple of ways that you can engage with us while we're on the line today. You can use the raise hand feature, which lives on this upper left part of your control panel, and it looks like a hand, a little icon. If you click that, it will signal to me, and then I can unmute you if you need to ask a question or say something. And then you can also use this questions panel, which is on kind of the bottom half of your control panel, and all you do is type in your question and hit the send button. I will get that, and I can type an answer back to you, or if it makes sense to hold on to it for the larger discussion, I'll do that. And then with that, I will pass things over to Heather.
Okay, great. Thanks, Amy, for the introduction. Again, my name is Heather Halter, and I'm your Learning Solutions Specialist for Communication at Macmillan, which just means that I provide training and pedagogical support for instructors using our LaunchPad products. And of course, as Amy said, LaunchPad is our online platform where we house supplemental resources, activities, and those sort of things to go along with our textbooks. And we'll mention this again at the end, but worth noting that if you like what you see here today and you want some additional assistance getting set up, or if you want a deeper dive into the other LaunchPad resources, I'm certainly happy to meet in a one-on-one session with you, and we'll provide you with how you can set that up at the end. But before coming to Macmillan, I just wanted to start off by sharing a little bit of my background. Before coming to Macmillan, I got my master's in communication from the University of Central Florida, where I actually wrote my thesis on using social media in the classroom. So the idea of using technology while teaching is something that's been an interest of mine for years. After that, I taught public speaking for 5 years in a variety of formats, face-to-face, hybrid, online. And most recently, as the course director at Full Sail University, I led my department's implementation of Speech Class, which was the predecessor to LaunchPad. And now my job is to help instructors figure out how to implement these online resources into their classes. So it's a pretty great gig. Today, what we're going to be looking at are some of the LaunchPad's features especially made for our interpersonal texts and, of course, your interpersonal communication class. Specifically, we're going to be looking at items in LaunchPad from Reflect and Relate, which just came out in its 5th edition not too long ago, and our smaller but still awesome text, Interpersonal Communication, and You. The specific resources we'll be looking at today are going to be self-quizzes, journals, and making relationship choices our flagship feature. And we'll also take a quick overview of LaunchPad as well. So with that, let me get out of my slides here real quick and jump on over into LaunchPad. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with LaunchPad, this is what it looks like. We're personally in the LaunchPad for Reflect and Relate right now, but worth noting that the LaunchPad for Interpersonal Communication and You and all of our other LaunchPads as well are going to look and function exactly the same. It's just, of course, the content that will be a little bit different. Of course, again, all the features today, though, are available within both of our interpersonal LaunchPads. So as you can see, pretty much everything that you need is right here on this main homepage. Just about everything is divided up by chapter for you, so it's really easy to come in here, click to expand the chapter open, and you can see the contents that we have to go along with that particular chapter. Everything is nice and clearly labeled in green, so you know exactly what type of activity you're looking at. Let's say that you want to preview this self-quiz. Simply click that open. You can check it out as the instructor. You can also feel free to take the quiz as well, just if you're curious. And then you click the home button to get back to that main page. Now, if this self-quiz is something you decide you want to assign to your students for homework, notice how we get this little assign button down on the right-hand side of the page. All you have to do is click assign, select a due date, make sure you have a point value assigned, and then click the blue assign button. And just like that, that particular chapter will jump to the top of the page under this assignments heading. And you can now see that that self-quiz has the blue to do button next to it along with the due date, which means that this is ready for students to complete as a graded homework assignment. Now, worth noting real quick that on top of the specific interpersonal activities, each chapter in here is going to come with a full ebook. It matches up page for page with the print book. Students can read it online in LaunchPad. And we also have the option to download an offline version as well, so students can read it when they're on the go. It's also mobile friendly, so they could read it on their phone or tablet. Each chapter is also going to have a pre-made chapter quiz. We also have a full test bank in here for you to build your own quizzes or a midterm or final exam. Each chapter will also have learning curve adaptive quizzing, which was one of our sessions that we held earlier in the month, if you want to go back and watch that recording. And then each chapter will also have instructor resources. So this will include things like our instructor resource manual, which will give you chapter outlines, suggested activities, discussion questions, those sort of things. Most of our titles do also have iClicker questions available. And we also have downloadable slides as well that go right along with the chapter if you like to use slides in your class. We've done most of the work for you already. With that then, those are everything that's, kind of generic. Let's jump right into the interpersonal specific activities. And for this, I'm going to jump into chapter 2, where I've already kind of set up a couple of assignments. The first item I want to take a look at are going to be the self-quizzes. There are either 1 or 2 of these for each chapter. And as the name suggests, self-quiz, it's simply a reflection activity. There's no right or wrong answers. It's sort of like the quizzes you take in a magazine, where it's, if you answered mostly A, it means this. If you answer B, it means this. So for this, in this case, we're looking at your attachment style. So students read through their options here. They select their choice from the menu. When they click submit, they would then see their feedback on what that means for them. Some of the quizzes are a bit more detailed. They're going to be more than just one question. The other activity we have in each chapter that serves as a nice sort of reflection are going to be our journal entries. And these are just good writing assignments where students oftentimes will work through sort of a little mini activity and then type a response where they think about how the content that was discussed in that chapter relates specifically to their own lives. Again, no right or wrong answers, so they just type this in and click submit. And as the instructor, you can always come to this results button in the upper right corner and view what your students wrote. Our biggest feature in here, though, is going to be the making relationship choices. And small disclaimer, it is only available in Reflect and Relate. It's not available in the Interpersonal Communication and UText. But these are really great. We call them slide tutorials with videos because it's kind of a clickable activity that students work their way through. Students work through these, and a lot of times it's issues that they're actually dealing with in real life. Maybe they're choosing between friends, struggling with family transitions, dealing with mixed messages. Basically, students are provided with a communication concept for the background, this introduction page. We get a little bit more info. And then they're presented with the case study, which lays out the scenario. The next step is your turn. We have 5 short answer questions that require your reflection on the process. And they're the same 5 steps in each one of these. Next is my personal favorite part, the other side. We can talk about communication situations and the way they should play out, but of course that doesn't always happen. There's always more to the story. So the other side is going to be a video in which the other person involved tells his or her side of the case study story. And of course, as often happens, there's information that we didn't know about ahead of time and while we were crafting our responses in those other questions. So while we consider this new information, we then revisit our responses and we decide if there's anything that should change, what we would change, and what the outcome would be from that. We do have some additional resources that are not necessarily divided up by chapter, but I do want to make sure that you're aware of them. First of all, down at the bottom of table of contents here, we do have some options. If any of your students are experiencing communication apprehension, and that's something you cover in your course, we do have 2 different assessments to look at how scared your students are of communicating. And then we also have our relaxation audio download. And this walks students through visualization and relaxation techniques to help them overcome their fear of communicating. And we can also come to this star on the left-hand menu that says resources. I'm going to select content by type. And this not only allows you another way to browse through the content that we have in here, it's also going to be a great way to access our additional video activities that we have in here as well. You can see we've got 60 different videos, and they all relate back to different terms that are discussed throughout the chapters. So if there's something that you teach that you want to have a little bit more visualization, have your students do a little bit more work on, feel free to come up to the search box and type in whatever concept you want your students to watch. These videos will be a very short skit that students can watch. You can see this video is only 50 seconds. So again, nice, short and sweet. I think I accidentally put play on that. And then students are given short answer questions to reply to as well. Also worth noting that we do have our video assessment available in here as well. This allows you as the instructor to build your own video assignment where maybe you've got a video that you'd like to share with your students and you can build sort of a video discussion board on it. Maybe you have your students do some sort of presentation in class and you want them to be able to report back to you, or have you provide feedback on their video. We've certainly got all of those options in here. And in fact, you can also see more about it in this instructor's guide to video assessment. And if you look, we've got interpersonal and communication courses. We actually have some suggestions for activities that you can use as well. The self-submit, comment only, and live event feature are all available to you. And again, the video assessment is something we discussed in a previous webinar. So if you want to learn more about it, feel free to go back and watch that recording, or again, I'm happy to meet with you as well. So hopefully this quick overview has given you some new ideas that you can infuse into your interpersonal course. Remember that within LaunchPad, we have self-quizzes, journal exercises, our Making Relationship Choices case studies, pre-built chapter quizzes, learning curve adaptive quizzing, an ebook available both online and for download, and then our video assessment. I'm happy to meet with you all to discuss any of these items further. But until then, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Amy, and we'll open it up for some Q&A.
Thank you, Heather. So I will go ahead and unmute the line if anybody would like to speak up. I also have a couple of questions that have come in through the question box, so I can share those as well. Okay, so Heather, the first question that we have is about the Making Relationship Choices feature that you showed, and this person would like to know whether that is referenced in the print book or if it's just in LaunchPad.
It is. They are located at the end of each chapter, where students can technically read through the case study, but what is exclusive to LaunchPad is going to be the other side videos. Those they will have to log in to check out. And of course, you know, in the book, it's, you know, very static in their reading. It's not going to be as interactive. So I do recommend assigning the LaunchPad, even though, of course, it will be referenced in the book.
Okay, thank you. And the other question we had in the last slide that you were on that had the bulleted items that are in the LaunchPad, somebody is curious about what the adaptive quizzing is.
So that was referring to learning curve, which admittedly I maybe don't have too much time to go into right now because it's kind of detailed, but the basic idea of it is that each student receives an individualized quiz based on how experienced and how much they understood the chapter. Rather than, you know, a regular quiz, there's 20 questions, you get X amount wrong, X amount right, that's kind of it. Instead, students will get questions based on their skill level. If they do well on the easier questions, they move on to harder questions, and they keep on answering questions until they reach a target score for the activity. So again, it's different for everybody. It's a little bit game-like, so students kind of enjoy it more than a regular quiz. And again, we discussed that during our first week of webinars, so we've certainly got a recording we can send to you, or I'm happy to meet one-on-one so we can do a full walkthrough of it as well.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And then just one more that came through. This person would like to know if it's possible when they assign these things, if it can work with their Blackboard gradebook.
Definitely, yes. So at many schools, we do offer what's called deep integration with several different learning management systems, including Blackboard. We also do Canvas, D2L, and Moodle as well. And what happens then, as the instructor, you go into LaunchPad and select the assignments that you want students to complete for homework. You then go into your, say, Blackboard course and set up links out to each of those activities. From that point then, students have a seamless way to access the assignment. They basically see the link right alongside any other content you have in Blackboard. They follow the link, it goes to the activity, they complete it, and then the score that they receive on that activity tracks back into your Blackboard gradebook. So again, the scores will live right alongside any other grades that you give in your class.
Okay, I think that did it. All right, unless anyone else would like to ask a question, give you a moment. I think we can go ahead and wrap this up. So these are just a few ways that you can follow up on what we have discussed today. So what you see on the screen, if you would like, as Heather was just mentioning, when we got the question about the learning curve adaptive quizzing, that is a perfect reason to make an appointment with Heather to see some of our other resources and features in LaunchPad. You can use this URL at the top here, meetme.so/Heather Kimball, and this will take you to an online calendar. You just pick a day and time and set the appointment. And I would highly recommend taking advantage of this. Heather is a wonderful resource, so certainly anything you saw today, but anything else that you'd like to know about that we have digital resources and tools and activities for communication, Heather can show you whatever you'd like to see, answer your questions, and help you learn how to use some of this stuff in your courses. If you want to browse our catalog, you can go to macmillanlearning.com/communication, that second URL, and you will find a list of all of our products organized by course. And then if you'd like to learn more about LaunchPad on your own, you can go to launchpadworks.com, this highlighted URL in the middle, and you will find demo videos and case studies. There's a bunch of resources that you can kind of look through at your convenience. And then for anything else, if you don't know who the rep is for Macmillan at your school, or if you need a desk copy or any other questions, feel free to send me an email here at the bottom, amy.haynes@macmillan.com. I'm happy to answer your questions, point you in the right direction, and get you what you need. So do not hesitate to reach out. Same goes if you'd like a recording of any of our sessions in this series. I can send you those links. And then lastly, I will make a plug for our remaining couple of webinars. Tomorrow we will be holding a session on communication, the human communication, the intro course. Friday will be public speaking. Tomorrow's session is at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Fridays is at noon Eastern. And then I've also listed our past topics here in blue. Of course, today we're talking about interpersonal, but Tuesday we held a session on mass comm. We've looked at building quizzes and tests, the Go React video assessment feature, which Heather touched on briefly, and again, the learning curve adaptive quizzing. So if you'd like to sign up for tomorrow's session or Fridays, you can go to this highlighted URL here in the bottom left, tiny.cc/com spring training, and sign up for our remaining sessions. And again, please reach out to me via email if you would like a link to the recording. If you attended today or any of these sessions, you should automatically have received a recording that you can watch again and reference at your convenience. So thank you so much for your time today. We're glad you joined us, and we look forward to connecting with you in the future. Have a great day.